It was the first time black kids had a young group that was fabulous.
It was the perfect time for a white young male artist to come out and to be their puppy love.
They wanted to be famous. I know it was something they wanted. I told the boys, you only get out of a thing what you put in it.
We had a million seller, and the million seller was I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus.
That was in New Zealand.
Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael had never celebrated Christmas, not once. 5 Jehovah's Witness kids singing about Santa, Rudolph, Frosty. The photo shoot for the album cover and promotion were probably their first experience with a Christmas tree. They made you believe. Michael's urgency made you believe. Motown was in the business of selling the dream. The Jackson 5 were selling dreams. This is the story of a child who transformed a family that transformed a generation, and how fame transformed Michael Jackson. This is the Thriller Effect. By fall of 1970, the Jackson 5 are the biggest rock stars in the country. Their dream had come true. This was too good. You're the Jackson 5. You are headlining your first ever tour. Ike and Tina Turner opened for you in San Francisco. You are the guest of Major League Baseball. You open a World Series. You filled 18,000 seats at the Forum. You release a Christmas album, and it's another million seller. You're fourth in under a year. It was the toughest schedule they had ever known.
The Jackson 5, they have gone on to become probably the most popular singing group in the country. She should be very proud.
Well, I've introduced them, and now I think they're on their own. They don't need me now. I just stick in the background.
Rolling Stone magazine, the Jackson 5, the biggest thing since the Stones. Feature writer Vince Aletti told the world what he had witnessed at the Jackson 5's Madison Square Garden performance on October 19, 1970. Quote, police fortified the stage. People clogged the front aisles in heaps. Girls climbed frantically, screeching over seats to get closer to the Jackson 5. Aletti was astounded by the Jackson 5's lightning-quick rise to prominence. He noted their previous appearance at MSG was a filler performance for the Miss Black America pageant the previous summer, but now, without so much as a week's notice, brand new band of black teenagers were headlining their own tour, selling out fast. Rock journalists want to know about Jackson Mania.
I was obsessed with the Jackson 5, and that was when they were strictly Motown. I reviewed one of their early albums for Rolling Stone. They defined a certain kind of black pop music that I was already in love with. I went on to actually review the album. Great pop music from the beginning. Wonderful bubblegum.
Their mini tour resumed in October and didn't break till Thanksgiving. The shows picked up again 2 days after Christmas without any significant break until January 31st.
The big Jackson 5 tours began right after the successes we had with our records. We played huge halls like Madison Square Garden.
We must have been 5 numbers into a 15-song set. We knew something wasn't right. Michael kept singing. All I could see was his back as in front of him a mass of fans was pulling at their own hair, screaming hysterically, crying, teens and preteens with outstretched arms. What was that? Did you feel that? Mother said, all I could see was my babies being chased, running for cover. I was so worried for you all. From state to state, the craziness and record sales kept escalating. Motown installed increased security, so we had police protection at arenas and motorcades.
The Jackson 5 was the hottest young pop band in America. I was freelancing at the Los Angeles Times. The editor asked me if I'd go do a story with him, and I thought it was kind of an interesting little story, so I went out to their house. The other brothers were all sitting there. His mom said, I'll go get Michael. And he came back, and you could see it was the last place he wanted to be at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night.
The American media outlets were in a frenzy. The group ended 1970 as an unqualified phenomenon.
It was something that we always wanted to do all the time was the entertainment business, you know.
We were brothers out there having fun. We were making people happy at the same time.
I keep doing what I'm doing because I like it best.
Since we're in the entertainment business, we're going to try to do our best. You know, it's something that we always strive to do.
It's a part of you. It's in your blood.
4 million selling singles, 4 smash albums, including a holiday staple at Christmas, still played 5 decades later. The Jackson 5 returned to Gary, Indiana on January 31st, 1971. Mayor Richard Gordon Hatcher named a street after the group. Street names were presented to the J5 at an official press conference. And this gave Suzanne DePass an idea that they could make the Jackson 5's return to Gary a show. And this was something that Berry Gordy had wanted to work on, a way to market Motown acts through television.
Becoming famous and all, they had a lot more to do.
Dancing, giving a good show.
Because we try to make the people happy.
Personality, smiles.
Sing all the time, and that's what we love.
Mainly, we try to do everything.
In many of my interviews with Michael, you can hear Tito drumming in the background, or Marlon or Jackie coming over and teasing him or playing with him, brother type stuff. So it was a very, very close family.
We always looked up to Jackie because he's the oldest brother. He like hovers over us.
Brother Jackie, he's always making sure that we rehearse and making sure that everything's going well. Tito's very serious. I mean, he's so concerned about making sure that we're on time.
Actually, your day was planned out for you. You wake up, have breakfast, and by 7 o'clock, you're already out the door.
Marlon, he's a comic. He's always joking around. Michael, he's a perfectionist. He wants the best. I'm concerned about the overall picture, that we go in the right direction.
There was really no head of the group.
He was in charge. He was the boss. They would say, well, what do you think of this step, Michael? What do you think of this tune, Michael?
We were taking one of the very first promotional photographs. Mike said, Dad, this looks like a family portrait. This is a business photograph. And Michael, 6 years old, set all the guys up, got in front of them, put his foot this way, and took a perfect photograph.
Even though he was the smallest, he ran that band. He stood out from all of the family.
Yes. Well, it's because he's the lead singer and he's up front, you know.
People always called me the leader because I was always up front singing and dancing.
Yeah, we put him up front because he danced so much and had so much energy.
Motown thought that I should spin out and do a little more. That was Berry Gordy's idea.
But the idea wasn't just coming from Berry Gordy. The solo career for Michael was the one thing that Berry Gordy and Joe Jackson agreed on. And it came about when another group hit number one. One Bad Apple, the Jackson 5 sound-alike, complete with Jermaine to Michael verses, which were the signature of every Jackson 5 release.
Jermaine was the middleman of the Jackson 5. Merrill was the middleman of the Osmonds, and we both sang lead.
We're listening to the radio on the countdown. And now the number one record, the Osmonds. One Bad Apple.
Are the Osmonds. The Osmonds with a number one record.
When the song reached number one, edging out the Jackson 5's Mama's Pro, which peaked on Billboard's Hot 100 at number 2. Joseph was livid.
That was our first number one. In fact, Michael told me that allegedly it was written for J5.
Someone in his circle told Joseph the song was offered to Berry Gordy for the Jackson 5. Quote, he handed those white boys a song we should have recorded. To me, that's effing unbelievable. And Mormons, too. Every time I hear those white boys imitating my sons, I cringe. Ewart Abner, vice president at Motown, released a press statement. Quote, we here at Motown are not mad at anybody. We wish them luck while we go on doing our thing and they go on doing our thing. And the Osmonds weren't alone. The Jackson 5 ushered in the teeny weeny revolution. They literally called it that. And musical families were spreading to all corners of the media space. The Partridge Family was on primetime weekly. The Osmonds were getting other sorts of attention too.
When the records started to happen and the girls started to scream, we weren't sure how to quite take that.
Teen media like Tiger Beat and 16 magazines focused on the Osmonds, but not the Jackson 5. I had to do some Googling. The Jackson 5 did not appear on any Tiger Beat cover in 1970. I mean, they were the hottest band in the country for the entire year, and they were teenagers, but not one cover. Berry Gordy quickly addressed this disparity by striking a licensing deal with a magazine publisher, Laufer.
The company that owned Right On Magazine had a licensing deal that Motown had set up. So he had to be in every single issue. Dad had me come over there a couple weeks later. I got to go in this room, see all this fan mail, thousands of fan mail letters.
Donny Osmond's solo success gave Motown the idea that Michael could record solo albums and stay a member of the Jackson 5.
He had this hit called One Bad Apple, and it opened up a new door for us.
The Osmonds record label was MGM. They followed One Bad Apple with a solo song by Donny Osmond.
It was the perfect time for a white young male artist to come out and to be their puppy love.
Donny was Michael's age, a high-pitched voice, never had the richness of Michael's.
The press back in the 70s always made it out that there was a rival between the Jacksons and the Osmonds. And we always said that, no, we're friends, we like each other. But in actuality, there was.
When the Osmonds showed up on the scene, the Jackson 5 were on top. Then they weren't alone. The comparisons were everywhere. You could tell that Michael thought it was a little bit annoying. The style imitation was obvious.
I'm happy to see that a group like that, like our music, because we opened the doors up for a lot of groups like the Partridge Family and the Osmonds.
My brothers were before the Jacksons. Their father used to make them sit and watch my brothers on the Andy Williams shows.
What do you think of their music?
They're pretty good.
Do you think that they copied your style?
I guess so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I just tell the truth.
My brothers were very unique. When they were trying to find children that could sing, they couldn't find anybody who compares to the sound that my brothers had.
There is no question that we copied the Jackson 5.
So really, there was a rival back and forth. We were always looking, okay, what's Mike doing? All right, what's Donny doing?
Motown was already a successful record label. It was not surprising that Motown could continue that run of success through the 70s.
We wanted movies, television, Broadway. I wanted everything for the artist that they could do.
Berry Gordy wanted his artists to become global superstars, and television was the way to do that.
Berry licensed the name Jackson 5 for the cartoon.
They called me and they said, would I be willing to direct the Jackson 5 series?
You think of a black group, their own cartoon series? That's mind-boggling.
Rankin and Bass were one of the big groups of people who did TV series.
You may have watched the cartoon and assumed the Jackson 5 were involved with it. They weren't.
Strictly was ABC. Television contracted it with Rankin and Bass.
Believe me, there are a lot of side deals.
They weren't the voices.
Those are other guys that's doing the voices. Matter of fact, one of the Silvers does Marlon's voice.
The money from the licensing deal went straight to Motown and nothing to the Jackson 5.
Yeah, you worry about a lot of side deals are being made in this type of situation.
I never met the Jackson 5, and I haven't any contact with Motown. They didn't contact me. Allison Batchelor, this company that was producing it, contacted me because I was known more in England.
Every Saturday morning, it promoted them as a group to their demographic. They were not paid as a result.
We went from a record company to an entertainment conglomerate.
I mean, soon after that, it was Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross.
He began pre-production on his dream project, The Life Story of Billie Holiday, starring Diana Ross.
We became a totally different company.
In 1971, Berry Gordy directed $15 million to television media development. 2 specials debuted that year, Diana, the Diana Ross special, and Going Back to Indiana, the Jackson 5 special.
We were doing an ABC special with them called Going Back to Indiana.
Right.
We were in this arena that had been sold out. We're filming in Gary, Indiana, the concert portion of the show.
That was in Indianapolis, yeah. I think they recorded it a couple places, but that was the main place.
The kids came on and they started to sing.
I had a terrible seat, so all I could see was the back of their froze. I was sitting in back. I could catch a glimpse if they did a spin.
Kids in the audience went berserk. They rushed the stage, and Joseph, he was scared for the boys, got the boys into a limo and took them back to the hotel.
So they had to stop the show about 4 times. The crowd kept rushing the stage.
I had an empty stage and 12 cameras. We didn't have enough in the can for what we had planned. So I had to go to the hotel and get them to come back and redo the concert.
I mean, I was like blown away, and I think I had tears running down my face because I just couldn't believe I was there. They were real. You'd seen them on TV. Those days, that's the only time you saw anybody. So when they came to your town, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Because, you know, I'm the one that started it all, and it took a father to make a son.
Joe was not the enemy. He was harsh, but he loved the boys.
You know, it was like talking to a mental patient. You know, I had to be very political. I said, Joseph, we're doing this show, and this special means everything to the kids, and we have to go back trying to, you know, ease him back into the limo. We finally did, and we got the stuff in the can.
That was the point when I knew I wanted to be in that lane somehow.
Hollywood real estate means you live here. You're not just visiting.
In April of 1971, Berry Gordy arranged to purchase the 4641 Havenhurst property from the previous owners. The deed of trust from Great Western Savings and Loan Associates contains details of the transfer of the property. Now the Jacksons were official Los Angeles residents. Suddenly there's a pool, tennis, badminton courts, there's a big iron gate, and the Jackson 5 are each other's best friends here. They play here, they rehearse here, and soon they will build a recording studio and write here too. Joseph can watch the brothers here. Joseph can control the brothers here. And for him, yeah, this property represents a level of control that he had in Gary, Indiana, and that he feared he might lose under the bright lights of Hollywood.
In the state of Indiana, it worked, and I figured that it would work here in California.
I recall most of that time as a period of extreme closeness with my brothers.
My parents trying to give us a normal family life. At the time, no, that wasn't possible.
I kind of felt robbed. The family used to eat together and do everything together. I felt that they had separated the family, but his father was with them all the time.
You saw some things that was going down that you wouldn't want to happen. Separation of the kids and all that, doing different things.
At Motown, when you have a problem about anything, you can call Berry Gordy right up. He'll come down and you'll discuss it. And Berry was fatherly.
Barry, who was a mentor, he used to take Michael to dinner when he was 11 years old. Michael asked questions, and he carried a yellow legal pad with him, and he would write it down.
In December of 1971, Berry signed Michael Jackson to a solo deal with Motown.
Berry Gordy's not going to be satisfied until he has one of my boys calling him daddy.
In the next episode, 2 future superstars and 2 current superstars meet at the Jackson 5's concert at Madison Square Garden. 2 of their lives will be changed forever. That's next on The Thriller Effect. Thank you guys for supporting. You guys have been fantastic. Spread the word, like and subscribe. Check out our Patreon if you want to continue to see more documentaries like this.